Project Green School Education is a promotion of sustainable use of cultural and natural heritage and resources. Project code 15.2.1001. The project is co-financed by the European Union through European Regional Development Fund under the Intergraph 5A Romania-Bulgaria program. The content of this movie does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union. One of the biggest assets of Bulgaria are the numerous monasteries located on unacceptable peaks surrounded by imposing mountains and amazing nature. The Bulgarian monasteries are unique with their rich architecture, icons and murals, and also because of the legends and the sagas about some of them. The word monastery or cloister represents a religious community of monks or nuns with their own rules and order that is governed by an abbot or abbess. The monasteries in Bulgaria first appear immediately after the adoption of Christianity in 865. This is when their intensive construction starts, which turns them into centers of Slavonic literature and culture. In the hard times for the country, they preserve our national values. Most of the Bulgarian literature and paintings were created in their territory, and in years under Ottoman rule, they did not only preserve the Bulgarian spirit, culture and religion, but were also the heart of the revolutionary preparation. Nowadays, not all monasteries are inhabited by monks. Some have only remained as cultural attractions and they are not active. Nevertheless, each of them has its unique beauty and fascination. Some of the most magnetic, majestic and imbued with spiritual messages monasteries are located in northwestern Bulgaria. The Clisura Monastery, Saints Kirill and Methody, is located in the northern foot of West Stara Planina, 80 kilometers away from Sofia, 25 kilometers away from Montana and 9 kilometers away from the resort town of Berkovica. It's situated at the foot of Mount Tudorini Kukli in Stara Planina, in the beautiful valley of Vreshnica river, because of which it was called Vreshnica Monastery. A cloister monastery was built in this place ever since the distant year 1240 during the Second Bulgarian Kingdom. Unfortunately, the monastery did not exist for too long. During the first year of the Ottoman invasion in our lands, the monastery was burned and its existence was interrupted. Since then, the place was deserted, but although being enchained and enslaved, the locals continued coming here in the festive days during the year and reminisce the existence of the monastery and called the area the deserted monastery. In the 17th century, 6 monks from another monastery settled in the surroundings with the intention to recover the cloister. The intention they had was hindered by the Chiprovtsi uprising that burst in 1688, which as well was covered in fire and blood, and an insurgent detachment came here to hide with the 6 monks. But, as it usually happens in the heroic events, they were betrayed. Troops were sent to find and punish the rebels, but the Balkan offers great hiding places and they managed to hide in the mountain recesses of Stara Planina. The monks do not betray where the rebels went and they are burned alive near the monastery. A spray that later turns out to be curative gushed in the place of their stake. Many people that have drunk water from the spring received a blissful healing. 6 beech trees grew up around the spring, which tells us that divine nature also has its own way to appreciate the heights of the spiritual sacrifice of the monks in the name of faith, kindred, and a homeland. After this point, the place was deserted again, and in 1867, a cleric named Antin Damyanov recovers again the holy cloister together with people from the nearby villages. The construction of the monastery passed while observing all the rules and with the help of the voluntary work of craftsmen from neighboring village. The internal decoration and painting of the temple continued during the next decade. The iconostasis is a real piece of art from the Bulgarian revival made by father and son Fondakovi, members of the Samokov wood carving school. Archimandrite Anthim builds monastery buildings and small temple in a very short time. He succeeds to convene a monastic brotherhood and founds a new spiritual life that has never stopped to this day. Today, the Klisura monastery, Saints Kirill and Methody, is and active nunnery. It is the 4th biggest in Bulgaria. It has 8 nuns and 6 of them are coming from the neighboring Macedonia, and 2 of them are from Bulgaria. They practice ancient monastic crafts, icon painting, needlework, monastery specialties, and gems. The sisterhood of the Klisura monastery makes icons in compliance with the traditional icon painting and the medieval icon painting technique with egg tempera on boards of solid wood. They are natural materials. The icons they make in the monastery workshop are made in a strictly canonical way. The nuns have special prayer preparation and fast before they start making the icons. The making of the icons is a process in which they first get to know about the life of the particular saint whose image they have to paint, and it's also a process of constant prayer during the icon painting. This is a religious rite that adds holiness and spiritualizes the image of the icon itself. An icon painting technique like this one could only be seen in the monastery. The other things to see there are all collected in a museum. It shows a part of the ecclesiastical history of Vidin Bishopric and the Klisura monastery. The museum stores the original Ottoman firman that allows the building of the monastery, an old gospel from 1776. We have the vestments of Exarch Anthim I, attributes he used in his service. For us, all that is exhibited in this museum are very valuable relics. In addition, there is a mountain recreation park in the Klisura Holy Cloister, where every visitor could take a rest in the silence of the heavenly nature, and there are special facilities for the children too. The Wapushna Monastery is situated in the Chiprovtsi section, Stara Planina, at an altitude of 300 meters. It's not too far from the village of Gheorghe Damyanovu and 21 kilometers away from the town of Montana. It is a monastery that is a national cultural monument and one of the most visited holy places in the region. The exact date when the monastery was founded cannot be proven with documents because the previous building of the monastery was demolished by the Turks during the Chiprovtsi uprising in 1688. All the literature and documents that were stored in the monastery were burned. This is when the monastery's analytic book was burned and devoured, and this is the reason why there are no documents to prove the exact date of its founding. According to the historians, there are clear evidences that the monastery belonged to the first Bulgarian kingdom. The restoration of the now existing Lopushna monastery started in 1850 by Archimandrite Dionysi. He inherits a big fortune from his parents, and he puts all the money in the building of the monastery and the now existing church. The appearance of the monastery resembles a fortress. During the years of Turkish slavery, it was repeatedly ravaged and restored. Its church is an exact copy of the church in Rila Monastery, the biggest one in Bulgaria. At that time, Archimandrite Dionysi meets Master Leo from the village of Slavin, who belongs to the so-called Slavin construction school. He brings him to the Rila Monastery and gives him the task to build the same church. Master Leo makes a model of the church, just like when you knit a basket of hazelbush twigs in order to carry in the architecture of the Rila Monastery, and thus he completes the task. Archimandrite Dionysi and the construction workers found many bones at the construction site when they began the excavation works for the building of the temple. Then, Dionysi orders the excavation of the whole courtyard. They found many bones of people who could not leave the monastery during the Chiprovtsi uprising and were killed by the Turks. Their names are unknown, but all the bones that were found are stored in a small church near the temple called ossuary. At that time, Archimandrite Dionysi becomes the first abbot of the Lopushna monastery. All icons in the temple are painted by the nephews of Zachary Zugrav, Stanislav and Nikolai Duspevsky, members of the famous Samokov school in Bulgaria. This icon of Jesus Christ is unique too, because wherever you stand, Jesus Christ never takes his eyes off you. Recently, a woman from Sofia has been dreaming about a miraculous icon hidden in the Lopushna monastery, and the exact place where this icon was, next to one of the windows of the church, was indicated to her. According to the story told by the abbot of the monastery, Velishki Bishop Sioni, the woman called him on the phone and asked him to dig out together the priceless icon. She describes the exact place to him. He comes, knocks on the wall, and it sounds hollow. They take away a stone and the icon pops up wrapped in this cloth, and thus the icon becomes known to all of us. The icon of Virgin Mary, Mother of God, of 3 hands is preserved and fully intact. It was swallowed in the monastery for almost 150 years. It's now exhibited in the Lopushna cloister and everybody could touch it. It is located in the valley of Chiprovska Ogosta River, about 5 kilometers northeast of the town of Chiprovtsi and 26 kilometers away from the town of Montana. The Chiprovtsi monastery is situated in a very mystical place. Here you can feel the direct presence of God. Information given by Peter Bogdan says that the monastery was built in 10th century by the Bulgarian Catholics. It was an important spiritual and educational center for 9 centuries. It's one of the 30 monasteries of the First Bulgarian Kingdom that established the Christian religion and the works of Kirill and Methody in the country. Liturgical books were translated and priests from nearly converted Bulgarians were prepared in the monastery by order of King Simeon. The time when the Chiprovtsi uprising happened was the hardest period of the monastery. It was burnt, and many precious books and manuscripts stored here in the library were burnt. For the period of its existence, the Chiprovtsi monastery was demolished, burned and restored 6 times. The monastery complex consists of a church, a monastic cloister, a tower with belfry, residential and farm buildings. The monastery has a stone church with one dome, which is in the exact same condition as it was in 1829. A 3-story tower. There is an ossuary on the ground where the bones of the rebels from the Chiprovtsi uprising are stored. There is a small chapel dedicated to the martyrs from Chiprovtsi on the 2nd floor of the tower and the belfry in the 3rd floor. The building behind the tower is the oldest one in the monastery complex, authentic from 10th century. Nowadays, the Chiprovtsi monastery, St. John of Riwa, is a peaceful place surrounded by beautiful nature. Its abbot is Herr Monk Spiridon. He is the youngest monk and abbot in the whole country. Today, Bulgarian and foreign tourists have the opportunity to step into the monasteries, into their churches and gardens, to touch a piece of history and feel their spirit of the old time and the monks are talking about. The combination of a few types of tourism in the Northwest will guarantee a successful and beneficial tourist destination. Project Green School Education as a promotion of sustainable use of cultural and natural heritage and resources. Project code 15.2.1001. The project is co-financed by the European Union through European Regional Development Fund under the Intergraph 5A Romania-Bulgaria program. The content of this movie does not necessarily represent the official position of the European Union.